I just wanted to share what God's been speaking to me about this Christmas, because as you know, I do Christmas early, and much to Andy's disgust, my tree went up at the beginning of November. I started watching the Christmas films, and I got the fire on, and I bought my presents, and I wrapped my presents. But it's all a bit of a pretense. It's all because I have a low expectation of Christmas. Not that it's about me, it's about Jesus, and it's all good. But Christmas week can sometimes be a bit hard, and so I like to enjoy the build-up just in case Christmas week is a bit of a letdown. You begin to look, don't you, sometimes at Christmas, and you see where things look good for everyone, where families look perfect and where it all looks nice and lovely, and suddenly everything's highlighted in your life, and loss is highlighted, and all these things are highlighted. And so I planned my build up for Christmas quite well, and I'm glad I did, because Christmas wasn't quite the greatest Christmas. We had some good moments, but there were also some really tough things, and I found myself in a situation where I wasn't just dealing with my own pain, and sometimes the pain of other people is harder than your own pain. You can process yourself, but when you're looking on and you can't fix the pain of other people, it becomes quite a bit harder. And I've been there, so I know exactly, or I pretty much know the feelings and the questions and the anxiety and all the stuff that surrounds the processing of this stuff that was going on. And trying to navigate that became quite difficult. And in the midst of the chaos, because it was chaos, if you'd have asked me, I'd have said, absolutely, I trust God. There's been too many moments of his faithfulness for me not to trust him in this. But could I see him in it was another matter. I couldn't question his faithfulness. I sing the songs when we stand here and we sing the songs. I sing them with all my heart, like I know it's true. I've seen his faithfulness right throughout my life. Christ is my firm foundation, the rock on which I stand. And when we sing it, I don't sing it lightly. When everything around me's shaking, I've never been more glad that I've got him. He's never let me down. And I can stand here and I can tell you he's never let me down. I truly believe it. I know it with all my heart. But sometimes, I don't know about you, but I feel like I need the assurance again. The assurance that he sees what's going on. The assurance that his ear is turned to the pain and that his eyes are on us. The promise that he's at work when we can't see that he's at work. And there was one day over Christmas where maybe I got a little bit caught up in all the emotion and everything that was going on. And I felt God asked me a question. And he just asked me this: do you see me? And I'm looking at the situation and I'm going, God, I trust you. And it was like he was saying, I didn't ask you whether you trusted me. I asked you, do you see me? And I was like, I know you'll work things out. I know you've got this. I know you're faithful. But do you see me? And I'm like, actually, God, I can't see you because I can't see any good. And if I can't see any good, then I can't see you. But the question began to play over and over in my mind over a couple of days. Why would God ask the question if he didn't think he could be seen? So I began to think, if he's asking me the question, then maybe he's there somewhere and I'm not seeing it. And it felt like a little bit like the Hagar moment in a situation that felt helpless. Hagar fled across the desert, pregnant with Ishmael. She'd agreed to something that was custom in that day, and she was pregnant with Abraham's baby. Maybe Sarah got a bit impatient. Maybe she wanted the baby, didn't she? And there's a phrase that says she got what she wanted, but she never wanted what she got, and everything went wrong. And Hagar finds herself in this situation, fleeing from home, a servant girl in the desert, pregnant. And it was there that she encountered the God who sees, and she named him El Roi. In a moment of despair, the angel of the Lord appears to Hagar and says in Genesis 16, she gave this name to the Lord who spoke to her. You are the God who sees me. For she said, I have now seen the one who sees me. But then we come back to chapter 21. And this time Sarah again is in the desert. She's gone from the home and she's with Ishmael now. They reckon he's about 14 years old. So 14 years or so later, and imagine from the text, it hasn't been an easy journey. When you first read it, you think of Ishmael as a little baby, the way it talks about her placing him under the tree. But they travelled through the heat and he was in a bad way. And she placed him under the tree because she stepped away, she couldn't face watching her son cry out and die. And she sat and she cried. And I wonder whether in that moment she remembered El Roy, the one that she'd named, the God who sees, or whether she cried out again, "Where are you, God?" Whether she'd not remembered the moment that he saw her. And in Genesis 21, it says, early the next morning, Abraham took some food and a skin of water and gave them to Hagar. He set them on her shoulders and then sent her off with the boy. She went on her way and wandered in the desert of Beersheba. When the water in the skin was gone, she put the boy under one of the bushes. Then she went off and sat down about a bow shot away, for she thought, I cannot watch the boy die. And as she sat there, she began to sob. God heard the boy crying, and the angel of the God called to Hagar from heaven and said to her, "What is the matter, Hagar? Do not be afraid. God has heard the boy crying as he lies there. Lift the boy up, take him by the hand, for I will make him into a great nation." Then God opened her eyes, and she saw a well of water. So she went and filled the skin with water and gave the boy a drink. She'd named him in chapter 16, the God who sees, but in chapter 21, she needed her eyes opening again to the God who sees. She needed to see him again. God opened her eyes and she saw the well of water. And as I read the verses, I began to think about my own life. And when I look back and see the glimpses of God at work, the moments where I got to see the God who sees me, and it's a special thing and it builds our faith. And yesterday, Jonathan spoke about it, like we can't go and tell people about this God unless we know him ourselves. Showing people who he is and introducing him to the one that we know. So it's important that we get to see him in these moments so that we can introduce others to them in their moments of despair too. Not the God who fixes everything, but the God who draws near, the God who sees. The one who is love in all of its fullness, who can't help but be compelled to action when he sees us. It's something I do often. I reflect back on God's faithfulness, and I love to do it because it reminds me again of what God can do. It reminds me that he's a faithful God no matter what situation we find ourselves. And I found myself back there, not remembering the times just of God's faithfulness, but really remembering the times where I have felt like I can't see him. The times, the moments where he's really not to be seen in the situation on the surface, but where I've caught a glimpse of him despite the chaos and the pain, the glimpses of a God who's not passive but active. And I recalled the moments in my conservatory at night when I would open up my Bible and he would whisper truth. And I smile as I recall it because I remember the moments of his faithfulness. Think about Andy Campsall having a vision. Exactly the moment my son arrested, and he had a vision of Jesus in the operating room. We didn't know what was going on, but Jesus was there and we caught a glimpse of him in the room with us. I think back to 15 years ago today, and at that time, 15 years ago, I didn't know it'd be significant. And yet I think back and I see a glimpse of God as I remember my final 3 words to my brother's final 3 words to me. And I remember God's kindness in the fact that that was the last time I spoke to him and they were the last words. Glimpses of his goodness despite the pain that would come. And it begins to build my faith again. El Roy, the God who sees. Then I came back to the question, do you see me? And I saw him because my faith had been raised, because I'd remembered what he'd done in the past, and my faith had been raised, and I saw him. I saw him in some words that had been spoken that nobody else would have been bothered about, but they meant everything to me. I saw him in the moment that I got to pray with somebody who I've not prayed with for a long time, and I saw a glimpse of him. The God who sees. And it was just a glimpse. But a glimpse was enough, because when we catch a glimpse of him, we realise that the only reason we get to see him is because he saw us first. El Shaddai, God who is sufficient. El Gibor, mighty God. El Elyon, the Lord Most High. Jehovah Shammah, the Lord is present. El Roy, the God who sees. And when we struggle to see him, we lay down the stones of remembrance and we trust again. And when we catch a glimpse of him, it changes everything, because he's enough. El Roy, the God who sees. Let me pray.